friend inside the inside. so, so maybe we go directly to you. Very proud. You can choose to stand or you have been talking, so maybe you would like to sit down.
What would you like? What would you like me to do?
I leave it to you.
We're all tested naman.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay lang, lapit ka.
I feel like you just say something.
Maybe a summary of what you said in your speech would be good. Those of us who wasn't there.
Yeah, first, I guess we would like to know how important it is that you come to Oslo and when you
Oh my gosh. You know, if I hadn't gotten approval, we would have been the first government, I think, since China. And then before China, it was Germany. That was the last time. So it would have been really symbolic in a bad way. But I'm really glad I'm here. It felt like always, it's like, it's horrible, but flip it, it's gotta get better.
You're in your shot anyway, go all the way to the other side.
Maria, can you give a short version of the speech?
Yes.
It was really powerful.
A very,
Like,
very
it's
short.
Very, very short. Watch everything.
I think at the beginning, I wanted to say that it was for every journalist under attack, because it's really bad. Like, matanda na ako, di ba? So, 35 years, I've never had it be this bad. And I have so many friends. I mean, but Jess Malabanan is someone I know, you know, and he was just killed Wednesday at 8 p.m. Manila time. So, and I wanted to bring it from global to Manila, to the Philippines. Frenchie May Cumpio, and then Jess. And then after that, I also didn't want to say the world is so horrible. I mean, it can get really bad. But I think that what social media is doing is bringing out the worst in us, right? It's designed to bring out the worst in us. And I wanted to say, hey, that's not the way we are. In 2016, someone asked me if democracy if a martial law could happen again, and I stupidly said no. I didn't think so because we have social media. But I couldn't have figured out what what happened today. And this is the biggest problem. It takes out kindness. Parang hindi tayo Filipino. You know, that's what I felt was happening, and it wasn't just in the Philippines. It was happening all around the world. That all of a sudden the goodness of people, was getting crushed underneath all this hate and anger and fear, because it's trigger the fear, then it becomes anger, then it becomes hate. And then that's harnessed. And then in our propaganda, it's like we're just torn apart. So I talked about that a little bit. I talked about how part of the problem, part of the reason journalists are getting why it's so hard to do what we do is because the new gatekeepers actually prioritize spreading the lies. So I spend a lot of time on how we're all talking content creation down here. So here's my ecosystem. My sister told me I got too geeky on this, but content is not where the problem is. In the middle is algorithmic amplification. That's the distribution. And then further up is data. It is the surveillance capitalism model. So it is, who owns your data? Iba ikaw. And yet the companies, the social media platforms, are extracting our data and they're owning it and they're using that to micro-target the algorithmic amplification. And that is prioritizing. I called it toxic sludge. And then in the end, I wanted everyone listening to realize that this is not a journalism problem, that this is everyone's problem, that you have to ask yourself the same question we had to ask in Rappler, which is, what are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to sacrifice for the truth? Because if you don't have the facts, we have nothing, So that's kind of how I ended it with, yeah, I came up with some solutions that are policy too. And then I ended it with, okay, what are you willing to sacrifice? And then I talked about what I was going through, which is, I don't know what's gonna happen. I could go to jail. And then when we go home, I really don't know what's gonna happen, diba? And then but it's worth the risk. Because if we don't do what we're doing now, if we don't act now, then lalo na, diba?
Right.
So I ended it with trying to get everyone to act, right? Because it begins, that's the way technology works, it's atomized. So you take care of your community, you take care of your community, and slowly we piece it together. That's the way corruption spread, that's the way the bad spread. So that's the way the good has to come back up. And I'm hoping that's what will happen. That's my speech. Summary. Pero napaiyak ako ng
The longest ovation. Even the king stopped and then he continued to clap.
Very kind. I
You're
didn't
in the shock.
know how to feel kasi I
Sorry.
was too emotional up top kasi grabe the room di ba? You feel the history, plus we just came from the royal family and I lost my voice slightly and I couldn't find water and then I just said, calm down. And I know, so, but it was really good with World Food Program because they were also a partner of Rappler. And then Dimitri and I, Russia and the Philippines are, if we have it bad, I think we can still get significantly better. But Russia really has it bad, diba? So that's what we do not
Okay.
want to be,
Yeah.
diba?
Okay.
So,
But Maria, a lot of people are saying that the one that happened to you is not a political persecution. But I read an article that the one who filed your libel case is Mr. Wilfredo King.
Yeah.
And the daughter of Mr. Wilfredo King is the name of the daughter is Patricia King,
Yeah.
who was appointed by President Duterte
Yeah.
as the commissioner of the Philippine Women Commission in
That's correct.
2019.
yes.
So I can see the connection that it is really
So what's political about it is that Ken could have filed that case, but ang daming mali dun sa case na yun eh. One, the period of prescription was 1 year.
Yes.
They changed it to 12 years. It's the government that pursued the criminal case. So, so it's kind of like Kusi, diba? Right now, he filed a libel complaint.
yes.
Now,
yes.
the prosecutor is going to need to decide whether there's any grounds for that libel complaint. And, the government, I'm trying to think, that was thrown out, not yet. So, but I'll say it, what the heck, so in a normal world where rule of law exists, the cyber libel case, I think should have been thrown out. That's the argument we make every
Okay.
single time. And why is it the government? Because the government, the Office of the Solicitor General, is the one that didn't want me to travel.
Yes.
They called me a flight risk.
Yes.
It was the government that is prosecuting the case now, not a private individual, right? That's propaganda war.
Yeah.
Ang galing nila dun, ah.
Yes.
Kasi pati ako, I was like, well, yeah, private citizen. And then it was actually Amal who said, Maria,
Yeah.
So,
But the next question is,
go.
how will Rappler, inform this information to a lot of Filipinos? Because I have a lot of friends, a lot of Filipinos saying,
Say that.
no, the freedom of information, the freedom of the press is still alive in the Philippines.
Yeah.
It's not a political persecution. But I know this information, that it's a political.
And what happened to ABS-CBN?
It was shut down. It's the same without
Correct.
any filing any case.
Right.
You know?
Parang for me kasi, if they really want to believe, here's the problem. Anyone can believe anything right now, right? Because that's the way our minds work. That's the cognitive bias. But the reality is, if you look at the track record, the number of journalists killed in 5 years, that's 22. The number of lawyers killed, more than under Marcos, right? 63. The people who defend us are being killed. How crazy is that? So if you look at just the track record, you can see it. But if you don't want to see it, you can also not see it. You know what I mean? Hindi siya rational thinking
I
eh.
understand.
Thinking fast siya, emotional siya. Once you're angry, you can believe anything.
Mm.
We see this happening all around the world. That's why social media, unlike journalism, is really far more insidious than no. We love it because we can go live, right? But at the same time, think about all of that. Like, I think there's so much information that you don't know what's real and what's fiction.
Yeah.
If you don't know what to trust, you're not gonna act. Diba? Lalo na if you're kind of doubting. Doubt is the worst. That's what Russia did.
Maria, can we have the last, because you might have so few words here. We would like to get a message to the Filipino community from you, and what we should do, considering the things that you have been trying to point out to the Filipinos worldwide.
So you are lucky because you are in a working, functioning democracy. You are in a place that understands gender equality, right? So to whom much is given, much is expected. So please do act, build communities of action. This is it. This is the other thing I said. It's a do or die moment. Our elections in May.
This is a small group because there's a lot of other members of the community that are actually like supporting our candidates, and they're supporting that infrastructure that you're talking about on
Yes.
social media. What can we do about it?
I think you'll see that may change, right? That's the first. I think don't have PTSD, because in the past we really were clobbered, and that was a targeted silencing of a narrative. Build communities. That's the other part. You're not alone, right? I guess that's what the Nobel is saying, right? That's what the Nobel Committee said. You are not alone.
Yeah.
And that's what I've heard from them. Wow, ang galing nila.
Do you think I mean, we're fighting against algorithm, which is amoral, not only immoral.
I love
Right.
you.
Right, but how do we go against something that's immoral and it's a business motivated primarily, and therefore it can serve any political purpose that serves the business?
That's why we need democratic countries to pass the law. That's one.
Right.
It's impunity.
Yes.
The real world. In the real world, you can't shout fire in a crowded theater. You can't shout bomb in an airline when you're boarding, right? So why is that not the law
Yeah.
online? I think, so I spent like a weekend with Shoshana Zuboff, who wrote Surveillance Capitalism, and she really, like, she's the one who really told me that, people think social media is different from reality. It isn't. Social media is reality, and if you think about it, it's like, an IV into democracy's blood system, right? Because it changes the way we think, which will change the way we act. Diba? So yun yung there's no quick fix, and part of my problem, and the reason why I included it in the speech, someone told me it was boring, that part, the policy part, because it has to happen now in the next 3 months. Otherwise, we will not have free elections, diba? If we don't fix the tech first, then everything we do gets lost. We won't have distribution. That to me is the problem. Diba?
Maria?
Oh, isa pa.
No.
Siya muna. Tapos ikaw. Okay.
Yeah, this is still related to the fake news that are constantly gaining much attention in the Philippines.
Yes.
So I would like to ask, how does it affect or impedes the freedom of expression in the Philippines?
It's used, so I'm gonna do like a quick TV soundbite, right, and then explain it. It's using free speech to stifle free speech, right? So think about like a fire hose of lies that's engulfing. There's so much trash, and it's targeting someone or a narrative, right? So that narrative gets squashed, or the person gets squashed. That's what we saw happening in 2016. Anyone who questioned the drug war, the first targets were normal people. Anyone who questioned was clobbered. And I mean, we were all shocked by it because it was the first time it happened, and so people stayed quiet. And that's part of the reason more people were killed. So it isn't a free speech issue at all. It's actually a it's a distribution issue. Because in the old days, journalists had both content creation, creating the journalism, and distribution. We owned it. ABS-CBN distributed on the airwaves, right? But now, journalists have content creation, but distribution is tech platforms. And these are algorithms that are created using our data to maximize surveillance capitalism. And what keeps us on the longest is lies, anger, hate, di ba? Totoo naman yun eh, yung juicy gossip, di ba? Totoo, hindi ko alam, pero alam mo. Di ba ganun tayo talaga eh. So, yeah. It's the worst of human nature. I've seen the best, and that's the other thing I put in the speech. It's like, let's not forget the best of what we can do, because the best of humanity makes miracles happen. That's the part. And I know, see, I get emotional again. I was starting to get emotional at the beginning of the speech, and I had to like,
The Filipinos are worth sacrificing for. Yeah.
parang back to the future time.
Ninoy, the Filipinos are worth dying for. Noy, the Filipinos are worth fighting for. And you, the Filipinos, are worth sacrificing for. What a beautiful to hear from you. June po.
June, nice to meet you. Yes, yes.
Hey, Othello, you to me are like Jose Rizal.
Don't say that, he was shot.
What he was fighting for before and what Ninoy was fighting for in the 70s. And now, you know, communication scientists have predicted about this great divide. There's a greater divide, and we have seen it now.
Yeah.
How can we solve this problem?
So the first is make sure people know they're being manipulated. Right, that's the first. The second is we organize communities of action, and one of the things we do is we ask the platforms. We're partners with these platforms, and we tell them, we show them the data of what they're doing. The third is we demand democratic states to take action. Right, in today's Nobel lecture, I actually talked about the Democracy Action Plan of the EU. They have a draft law, the Digital Services Act. That's probably the best that's out there. But I also focused on the US because it's their Section 230 that allows the lies, that allows the information operations. So law. This is a whole of society approach, and then I ended it with an atom bomb exploded. Think World War II, right? Post World War II, because of the atom bomb, people knew that they needed to come together, otherwise we would destroy ourselves. That's this moment again. Because it's like people forget that we need a new structure globally. It's got to be multilateral, multi-sectoral, you know, so if you're in an NGO here, think you can't even get your message out because the algorithms will decide for you, right? It's not even a person you can talk to, which is what a journalist used to be. So, we need new structures, and I talked about one of the new structures that I just joined to make sure independent media survives, which is this International Fund for Public Interest Media. But make no mistake, guys, the next few months, we have to focus on elections. And I'm a journalist, so you have more freedom than I do to actually do. Diba? For example, kung nag-pink ako ngayon, ang managing editor namin magagalit.
Ayun.
Would you like some?
Oh, thank you. Yes, I would. Wow, this was at the.
Unfortunately, we have so little time kasi aalis na si Maria after 5 minutes. So, baka pwede natin gamitin yung
You can
Oh,
take
no.
a
time
picture.
to
You can take a picture.
Oh, okay.
Ayan. Sige, mag-picture na tayo.
Picture na tayo,
Pwede ba
okay.
send?
Isang photo na meron nito,
Oo,
request sa immediately.
oo, lahat ng mga ganito, pwedeng magpunta sa harap para magpa-picture tayo. That's the map.
NUJP kasi NUJP wanted us to carry
Okay.
their maps.
Sorry.
No problem. Hello.
How do you wear this?
You just put it like that.
Tamang position.
Yes, Tante. That's correct. That's correct.
No.
Photos to Rappler eh.
The ones, which one, that
Only-
first?
No, only the ones that has some.
Do I just leave it?
What?
Do I just
No,
leave it?
no.
Turn it off?
For,
Just
this
Dali lang.
is called the mass media campaign. I'm a director of NUJP. And we are selling this mask to raise for the legal defense part of journalism.
Selfies.
Okay.
Show Maria. Show Maria and the mask.
The one with the older mask.
Okay, the mask.
This one is not the blocking a while ago. This is not the blocking the other one.
Okay, lahat daw na may mask muna. And so we will be done with that. We can take pictures afterwards. Okay. Now as a campaign for NUJP.
Is everyone going to be in a photo?
The one with the masks
Them
first.
first.
Afterwards.
Them first, okay?
No, no, no. It's just one group photo.
Alright.
It's already been discussed.
1, 2, 3. If we can look this way. And again. Oh, okay. 1, 2, 3. And again. 1, 2, 3.
Hi, Rappler.
Okay na.
So everyone now, yung pinag-practice kanina.
Okay, find your place. Find your place.
With mask, without mask.
Without mask.
Without mask, okay?
Alright, I'm going to move. I think I'll have to be in the back.
Without mask?
Okay, can I have you guys closer? Because I'm going to be taking photos. Can I move back a bit? Because my lens is the way it is. So, okay, as I told you, try to, yeah, maybe we'll be so kind enough. I'm gonna have to move here, actually. Yeah, because I just want to go up there. There's about 25 copies. All right, then I'm gonna see how this goes.
I think we're good now. Just take it out.
Okay, I'll try.
We don't have the time.
And then we went to the Royal Palace, and there were 5 Filipinos who'd been.
Okay, can I have everyone looking this way?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, and again, 1, 2, 3. Let's see. Okay, 1, 2.
Thank you for coming. You know the schedule they put us on is crazy. It's like by the hour.
How's your jet lag?
Wala.
Okay, no lingering, please.
Wait. Okay naman. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.